and I can't speak with a Sephardic Chacham without bringing up the Rambam. I wanted to talk about what happened in Spain before the Inquisitions. The popular opinion among some scholars and contemporary Orthodox historians blame Maimonides' philosophy and rationalistic pursuits for having caused religious laxity and apostasy of the Jews of Spain, leading to the Christian Conversos. Do you agree with this? Because I've heard others who completely reject this.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Absolutely not. What happened in the Jewish communities in Spain is multifactorial, as what's happening in the United States Jewish community and what happened in the European Jewish community, before the war. We cannot blame what happened because of one book or because of one issue or because of one type of philosophy. Not at all. It's multifactorial. It is multifactorial, and most of that multifactoriality, especially in Spain, is that first of all there was no central government in Spain. There was no central Jewish government, and there was no central secular government in Spain. Spain had different regions and different kingdoms, right? So Leon, the kingdom of Leon and Castile, when they united, but that was all at the end. There were pogroms in Toledo in the 1300s, even over 100 years before it started. And so in many areas, even during the time of Hasdai ben Shiprut later on, there was also attacks against the Jewish communities. And so those attacks against the Jewish community definitely affected how the Jews saw Judaism or saw themselves as Jews. Many of them were forced to be converted. Many converted because of tranquility. They didn't want to be persecuted. And so to ascribe a blame to Rambam rationalism is very simplistic, I think, very, very simplistic. And I have to believe that it's because of interest in their own agenda that they're ascribing that fault. No, certainly not. If anything, I think Rambam made it more possible for the persecuted Jews to be able to keep Judaism than to give it up. There's no question that Christian persecution of Jews was rampant, even, like I said, starting from the early 1300s, and not all the way until the expulsion in 1492, and in different regions and in different areas. In some cities, they had I'm not going to call it a pogrom because that's a Russian term, but they had an attack against the Jews, and then the Jews either they fled or they were killed or they converted, and then 10 years later, things got much better, and then another 20 years later was another attack. I mean, we speak about the golden age in Spain and how beautiful we lived, but we had plenty of attacks against the Jewish community throughout the centuries in Spain, really starting from early 1300 and not till the end. And so all of those things are factors. Also, there could be a factor of assimilation there. When you have certain degrees of liberties, as we have here in the United States and in the West, Jews are going to assimilate. Unfortunately, and this might sound very controversial, anti-Semitism at times keeps us Jewish. When there's no anti-Semitism, we assimilate. We live very freely in a liberal environment, and we just assimilate because nobody is reminding us that we are Jews. And that's what happened in Europe prior to the war. That's what's happening here in the United States in the last 50 years. I mean, the Jews in America in the 1950s, the census showed like 6 million Jews. And you ask anybody nowadays how many Jews are in the United States, they still tell you 6 million. Now, could it be that in 70 years, the population didn't grow? Impossible. Are we dying at a higher rate than other populations? All the other populations are growing significantly, except the Jewish population. Are we dying at a higher rate? Definitely not. Are we emigrating at a higher rate? Definitely not. So what are we doing? We are assimilating, unfortunately. And more people, more Jews, if I may again make this statement that to some people might appear controversial, but it is the truth. More people, more Jews have assimilated in the United States than Jews killed in the Holocaust. In the United States, by statistical methods, we should be now almost 18 million Jews. If we started 6 million in the 1950s, we should be 18 million now. If we're not 18, 15. If not 15, 12 million. At least we should have doubled our numbers like many other populations. But we have remained the same, if not less. The latest poll, it showed 5.7 million Jews. So we are even minus than what we were in the 1950s. So why? Because we live in a liberal society. Everything is open. There is no persecution. There is no anti-Semitism. Well, now there is. More sense as before, and so we assimilate. And I believe that something similar to that occurred in Spain, and many of that assimilation was sped by the forced conversion of Jews. So it was a combination. So to say, again, to conclude, to say that the rationalism of Harambam is what caused what happened to the Jews in Spain is a very simplistic, and it only serves the interest of the people that said that.
Right, and actually the famous disputation of Barcelona, obviously there was a Spanish influx of the Franco-German schools that came in later with Harambam, and interestingly enough, he uses in his disputation against Pablo Cristiani, he uses Maimonidean arguments, not Kabbalistic arguments, to defend Judaism. So it goes against this theory, because obviously if Maimonidean philosophy leads to Christianity, why is it being used as the argument against it? So that
absolutely, that's very, very correct. Very correct. In fact, as I said, I think Maimonidean rationalism allowed more Jews to remain as Jews and to be Jews in the society that they lived in than the anti-Maimonidean argument for that. That's correct. In fact, many of the metaphysical beliefs or many of the metaphysical acts and practices that some of those Jews adopted at the later age in Spain have very similar closeness to Christian metaphysics. Christianity in the Middle Ages was, if I may use this term, very heebie-jeebie. It wasn't a rationalistic religion at all. It was very, very spiritual, metaphysical,
magical,
so on and so forth. I remember that in the 1970s, there were many Christian sects that they would send you, say this statement 10 times, and in 3 days, God will send you a reward and things like that. That never occurred in Jewish practices. And yet in the last 10 years, I have been seeing more and more of those in Judaism. Say this paragraph of Tehillim 10 times, and you're going to see X, Y, Z. Or send this message to 12 of your friends, and in 3 days, they're going to come back to you with them. We never had that. We never had that before. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, many of the spiritual, metaphysical people who are not very knowledgeable in true Torat HaNistar, if I can use that word, they're simple people who adopt certain things of Torat HaNistar or Torat HaSod, and unfortunately, they misuse it. And that definitely may, if not equate them, but may get them very close to the Christological heebie-jeebies of the Christian religion.